Hey, everybody. Welcome to Deadhaus Whispers, our weekly podcast where we talk about Deadhaus Sonata and all the great things about it. And for those of you who happen to be late on all this info about Deadhaus Sonata is a spiritual successor to Legacy of Kain. It is a narrative action-driven RPG in which you play the undead fighting the living. Deadhaus Sonata development is leading on PC and will support all major platforms. And also today, our hosts are going to be Faceless Mike, as usual. And our special guest today is Golden Zan.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, welcome, Zan. It's good.
Thank you.
We get our first author, we'll call it, the first member of Apocalypse on, because I don't count.
Oh, of course you count.
So tell you're so kind to say, but we all know what's really happening. Oh, look at that. Hey, Wyvern Tabor. Hey, Bishop. Tell anyone that is listening who may be catching us later on the podcast and whatnot, who you are and what you do.
Okay, so I'm Golden Zan. I'm a longtime community member. I've been watching the game for a really long time now, ever since the first videos came up. I've been very active on the forum, making suggestions, getting to know the people. And right now, I am a World Anvil curator for Deadhaus, which means that I'm the person who sees what people are submitting, their articles for World Anvil, and I curate them for approving and submitting them and putting them up on the site. And it's very good to be here.
And today's topic, Nick, is
Liches and money.
Yeah, there we go. We had to do it.
Yeah.
Had to do
it. So yes, today's topic is about the Lich, because if you were around for the official Deadhaus Sonata stream, of Liches, the radio drama that for the classes for Deadhaus Sonata premiered yesterday. And it's fantastic. The sound design is wonderful. I recommend wearing headphones when you listen to it. George Ledoux, the voice actor for Alaric von Beller, does fantastic once again. And it's all about the Lich. It is legitimately the scariest one of these that I've heard so far. And the ending is just so perfectly Lovecraftian as well. It's so good. It's so good. And yeah, the Liches are just a really interesting class. And then obviously we'll be talking about money and microtransactions and how that might play out as well.
Yeah, I done that because it's been bantered about quite a bit. The topic comes up very frequently on the Discord of how this is going to be monetized. And I think Dennis has said it like anytime he's asked, hey, Reb, he's asked about how you're going to do it. And he keeps reiterating on, look, there will be ethical monetization. So today we'll run through like, what does that look like? And what does that feel like? Because I put a post up on the forums about monetization. What way do you think it should go? What way people are afraid it'll go? Although I'm fairly confident in the plan ahead. So we will start with the Liches. What was that?
I was going to ask, can we post links on the Twitch?
Oh, yep. You'll be able to put that there. I've got your one up. Which one do you want to flog?
Here's the thread for the monetization.
Yes. I will get that.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you, Zan. Thank you.
Sure thing.
Yeah, like I know we talked about monetization before in, I think, the previous episodes as well. Like we've touched on it, but it's something that will always be like a stigma, I think is the word I'm looking for, within gaming communities, within, Deadhaus, of course, within like just because, when you hear free to play and you hear monetization, you automatically think they're going to charge for everything. It's going to be garbage. It's going to be, Raid Shadow Legends. It's going to be something akin to Gearbox or whatever we were just talking about recently on the Discord. It's stuff like that. There's not a good light to it. So how will Deadhaus make monetization good, and how will they make it ethical? Because what exactly is ethical monetization? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like what do you guys think they could do with it? Because I have a million ideas.
Well, my first one that I plugged, I ran through a few ideas, basically opening and copying Warframe for a start, because I think, okay, take the mechanics bit out, just on the customization options. Like there is an almost ad infinitum options in Warframe between pallets, slots, like augmenting pieces, cosmetic armor pieces, skins, weapon skins, pet skins, other all things like that. So when you got that, and then the other one that hit me was, are either of you two familiar with Elder Scrolls Online?
Yes.
I haven't played it, but I've watched you play it, if
Yeah.
that counts.
Well, like Elder Scrolls Online, it's an MMO wrapped in beautiful Bethesda skin. And one of the big things that makes money for them is player housing. So if you have different areas in the game, like Riften, for example, you can buy like a large manor in Riften. Now, you don't have to. It has absolutely no bearing on the game whatsoever. But what happens is there's a particular area, you can see the manor behind this gate, and you go through the gate. And if someone purchases it, you can go in through that gate. And it's kind of instanced away, but it's still present in the landscape. But those things are really bloody expensive, like ridiculously so. I think I worked one out with something like 70 euros or 75 euros, whatever. But people buy them because they really want that. Like if you're heavily invested in a game, and especially a free-to-play game, like we're all familiar with Warframe, I can't imagine how much money people must spend on doing up their dojo, for example. Like that's their own player housing for Warframe.
Everything. I think you said everything on housing. A long time ago, there was a game, a Star Wars game. I think it was called Star Wars Galaxy.
Yep.
It had many planets and allowed you to buy land, pieces of land, and start building things over there. And I'm not sure how monetization came into that thing, but I think that as far as housing is something optional, let's say a space to gather up with your friends, or something that if it has a connection to gameplay elements, all those gameplay elements are available to everyone, then it's okay to monetize as much as you want on that thing. I think the boundary of ethical monetization is when you start giving advantages to people because they paid. A free-to-play game.
That's the question.
Yeah, and we touched on that as well with the whole pay to win thing in episode 1, I think it was.
Yeah, I remember.
And here's something from Bishop. It's hard to make money sound good. Others will also think it's not fair because they may not have a means as they may not have money. That is true. And with that, it's hard to make money sound good comes the whole free-to-play thing. But it's also really difficult to make free-to-play sound good now because that's attached with money, and all these other companies trying to just reach in and take.
That's the funny bit. There's that weird line because you've got ethical monetization and predatory monetization. Now, I don't need to give examples of predatory monetization. Literally open a phone and look at like any mobile game. 90% of them are predatory. There's quite a few of them on PC. There's a few of them on consoles and all. But the other side to that is ethical. Like one of the most ethical ones, I feel, gotcha, exactly, Wyvern Timber. One of the most ethical, I feel, is an example like Fortnite Battle Royale. Like there is mountains of cash you can spend in that game, but absolutely none of it affects the game in any way, shape, or form. It is purely cosmetic in every sense of the word. And then Bishop there, my question, will DHS make a way to earn premium currency? I would hope different than the Warframe's economy.
Okay, so how does the Warframe economy handle premium currency?
Do you want to take that, Sam?
I actually don't know that much how they do it. So,
you're a regular Warframe expert.
Well, what they do is so you buy platinum, and that'll be the same as in Deadhaus, right? So you've got platinum, and you basically pump up your little account with platinum. Now, platinum can be used obviously for cosmetics and stuff like that, but they also have the ability to speed up. Like if you're crafting something that could take 3 days, you can speed it up by spending X amount of platinum. But what you can also do is when there's rare drops in items, now Warframe handles things a little different. You don't get the items, you get a blueprint and you build the item. Now, for certain special parts, like instead of a normal Warframe, if you're looking for a primed part, which would be a more powerful, limited version of these Warframes that you can get from drops, you can sell the parts for platinum in the relays, just think of town. for anyone that's not familiar with Warframe, but Relay is like a little space station thing. You can sell that on there for platinum. So free to play players can actually earn platinum, the real in-game currency, without actually spending money. But then again, you end up with, there's ways then that system can be gamed, abused. You know, it's
Mm-hmm.
it sounds like a good idea, but I do feel there is probably things I'm not aware of that can be done to game the system.
Yeah, there's always something to game the system. Even as hard as developers try, there will always be a way to game your system. You know, I mean, just look at GTA Online. So many
Oh
people,
God, so much
so
money.
many people. Yes.
Reb's
What about
asking there. Yeah,
yeah?
go
Go
on.
ahead. Go ahead. No.
Uh,
Okay. Okay. What about aesthetical for characters that offer no buffs, just pure aesthetic? Yes, yes is the answer. That will be a
yeah,
thing for Deadhaus Sonata. Yeah.
that's what they have in Warframe, and I think they're going to copy it. Well, that was again more of my suggestions. They have ephemera, which is like an aura that floats around your character. You can buy things like that. You can buy stances where your character stands slightly different and has a different movement set, like more regal or hunched over. Like there's many different things, all purchasable. And in my eyes, that's how a free to play game should do it, where you can have an almost unlimited level of customization, but it being purely cosmetic. Because if they're worried about, oh, but no one will buy it, people will. I've seen it in
Oh
Monster
yeah.
Hunter.
I spent
Monster
like
Hunter
15
has
bucks
those.
in Warframe. I spent 15 bucks in Warframe just trying to get black and gold accents so I could, make like
Mm.
Kane-ish custom iron armor or whatever for my Warframe character. That's it. Like people will do it. I think if it's clothes, if it's weapons and stuff, oh my god. um,
Go on,
like
ask that.
it will. How many months after release will Jim Sterling make a video about the monetization model being evil?
Well, to be fair, he has been fair with other games that are free to play and
Yeah.
have somewhat monetization models. Jim, while I have a weird relationship in regards to like Jim Sterling, I do like what he says. I agree with a lot of his points. I just don't agree with him in quite a few other areas. But he is very much consumer focused, and he does think of the player and the consumer first. So his gripe is usually tearing into people throwing gacha and free to play models of microtransactions into $60 games.
Mhm.
Oh yeah,
Going back a
definitely.
little bit to
Mm.
Bishop's question, to the second part, will Deadhouse specifically have a means to gain premium currency? We don't have word on that specifically, but I believe that they will make events that allow you to gain prizes in platinum or otherwise. We already have on the official Deadhouse stream. Um, we sort people who comment on the stream itself and reward them with founder specs, and eventually that will be platinum. So there are already, even before the game is launched, ways for you that you can gain platinum itself. I'm sure that after the game releases, there'll be competitions, tournaments, things like that will also allow you to gain
Oh
platinum.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
eventually, when the marketplace comes of user-generated content, I know that part of it will allow people to sell their content for
Mm.
real money, but I'm sure that you will probably be able to get platinum through that as well.
Oh
I
Mhm.
yeah,
think.
there will. Most games that have any type of store like that will usually have some way that you can earn the currency as well, just at a very, very reduced margin, or else that the items that you buy with the premium currency can actually be earned in game after quite a long grind. So it's
Mhm.
basically, time equals money,
Yeah. So, but how long does that grind have to go on for? Like, how long is the grind in Warframe to earn, what would be the equivalent of premium currency to get something? How long should the grind be in Deadhouse Sonata for people to get premium currency? Because, like, I understand that there's going to be some grind to some things and people enjoy it and that's part of the gameplay loop, et cetera, et cetera. But if I have to spend like 5,000 hours of my life and I barely see some sort of, income from it, game like stat wise or money wise, like premium currency wise within that aspect, then it's not, I feel like I'm wasting time. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So how would do you think that will work with Deadhaus? Like, if there's too much, there can't be too much of a grind, and there can't be too little of a grind either to get rewards, to get this premium currency. You know what I mean?
If it's even
Yeah.
included at all, because that's
Yeah,
still a
yeah.
kind of
If it's even included at
a
all.
toss up in the air. Maybe it isn't. You know.
I'm thinking there should be a few different kinds of items that you can get. Items that you can get only through in-game effort, items that you can get from both in-game effort and uh, real money purchase, and items that you can only get with purchases that you get with real money. So this creates a good levels of distinctions. Items that give you specifically, I'm talking about skins, because if you're talking about items that you're going to use in your character to give you attribute bonuses and things like that, those should always only be attainable through in-game effort.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I do think they should be, like what you're saying there, entirely separate. The item shop is a completely separate thing, a completely different beast altogether.
Yeah, but then on the let's I guess I'll be the devil's advocate here for the whole thing. So let's reverse that coin, and okay, let's say Deadhaus, or let's not say Deadhaus. Let's say it's there's a free to play game, and the only way to acquire anything, regardless, period, is with real money. I'm talking about Gwent here. If you guys have ever, now Gwent is fantastic. If you guys like the Witcher universe, if you guys like, card games, that kind of thing, the free to play version of Gwent is fan-friggin-tastic. You don't have to spend a dime. However, if you do spend real money and buy card packs, and everything like that, it's all a gamble. It's all RNG randomization stuff. But there are those people who will drop hundreds and hundreds of dollars and get, a billion different cards and a billion different card packs, and then build like fantastic decks that you just can't beat against, period. You know what I mean? And that's all real money. And as far as I know, as for the last time that I played Gwent anyway, there's no real way to win in-game stuff without grinding your butt off a billion hours, and it just doesn't feel worth it. So you spend that real money. That incentive is there to spend that real money. And the bonuses that you get from spending that money is worth spending that money. So that's why most of it is spending money. That's a lot of spending money. And it's just how would that, you know what I mean? Like what if for Deadhaus, obviously I don't think it'll be this way, but what if for Deadhaus the only real obtainable things to do is, for cool stuff or whatever, is to spend real money, or you're just grinding your butt off? And I guess that goes back to what I said earlier. It's a fine, and then something from Uru TV here kind of caps everything off. It's a fine line to walk. It always sets off alarm bells when some items can be bought with both a real money premium currency, which is also grindable in game. And that's like the negative thing that I have for myself personally against like free to play games, is because companies most of the day now have it both ways. It's, you can win this flaming sword of fire by grinding your butt off a billion hours, or you can spend $10 and get the exact same flaming sword of fire. And we talked about that a little bit in a previous episode, where it's like it should only be a cosmetic item or whatever. And if you buy flaming sword of fire from the store, it's not as cool looking as it is winning it in game or something.
That's true. Now, here's the other side. You said play devil's advocate. Let's flip it. From the game developer's point of view, how do you make money without hurting the player?
Yeah, which is really difficult. And that's through cosmetics. That's the only way I can really see it done, and done ethically, done to where when people talk about Deadhaus, they're like, oh yeah, Deadhaus is free to play. It's got a lot of cosmetic stuff, but that's about it. That's fine. I'm okay.
That's what I'd do that and add the Elder Scrolls bit as well. With the housing.
Yeah, like, definitely.
Get every player. Yeah, get every player to start off with like a basic crypt or whatever. Because in Elder Scrolls, you can get a free first house. It's literally a small empty room in a tavern. But technically, that's all you need, especially if you just wanted to role play this idea of your character. Then you make the housing more expensive. right? And then like Elder Scrolls has varying degrees. Like you can get like small little cottages, they're fairly cheap, then bigger houses, more expensive, then like huge manors and giant castles and all, which are really expensive. As I said, up to the like 75 euros and stuff, which is nuts. But hey, they get like they don't it's a pay once and you're done, and they're an online it's an MMO, like, so they need to pay for the servers and stuff somehow constantly. So I'm okay with that idea in regard. Like a $60 game, that's one thing. Don't like microtransactions, but if it's an online one, and basically you can get the game almost for free half of the time because there's always a sale on. So I don't mind it as much for an MMO style game. It's better than a subscription service, but they have that as well. We'll get back to that in a second. I don't like that idea. Either have it as subscription or not. I don't. But anyway, then the other level up from the housing is guild housing. So you could put like the guild castle and stuff. And then that way, like I mentioned this in that post as well, I'll relink it there. That opens the door for not only one player spending money, but the whole guild spending money on decorating and doing out the guild place. Maybe they want to stick a crafting table or a forge or whatever way it works out, a vault, a library, you know, all these handy little things that they don't need to go into the town hub to do, that they can do from their hub.
Yeah. I feel that let's use that for example, because we know Deadhaus is going to have, you know, little hub areas that you can, you know, like your own space in Warframe that you can pimp out and everything. Let's say that going with the kind of a positive and negative, you get a basic crypt or something in Deadhaus you can pimp out. You can earn in game you can earn up to some really cool looking stuff, but to get the really cool looking stuff you have to pay money for it. If you want, you know, a golden throne or something within your little crypt, you have to pay real money for it. Otherwise, the throne you get from in-game, from just grinding or whatever and using currency from in-game to buy the throne, isn't as cool looking as the golden throne that you can buy with real money. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's where the weird coin toss comes in, because we're again there. But we also hear people argue over cosmetics can even be a predatory business model. There were stories about kids getting bullied because they had the default skins in Fortnite. That is true. And then you have the other side of the coin. Maybe this doesn't exist as a thing anymore, but I remember when World of Warcraft first introduced their first like microtransaction cosmetic sort of stuff, there was a mount, and like you'd nearly at the beginning not want to use it in a town or city because people would look at you like, you paid money for an in-game mount, like you're a disgrace. You know, so you both sides of the coin. But like with the skins in Fortnite, I seen that, I read up about that, and I don't know how you negate those things, because like it's still a full game for free and they have to make money somewhere. So, you know, it's a real difficult situation.
It is. It's really tough. And from a developer standpoint, it's even more difficult because you have to make money somehow, and it's free to play. And the only other way to make money is if you take away the free to play model and you just, you know, go full on, pay $20 or $30 for the game, and there you go. And then you still have microtransactions on the inside. Wyvern Tamer golden thrones are so ostentatious, though. Very true. And to quote Garrett, it's a throne room. How pretentious can you get? Like,
well, I will want a golden throne in my room for sure.
Oh, I totally want a golden throne in my room too.
I'm not a developer, and I don't. Oh, sorry, to mention her.
Just sorry, real quick. Rebecca, I would rather that was in reverse. Those whom grind their butt off in game surely show more dedication and therefore should have the better looking cosmetics. That too. So if you spend like a bajillion hours, you get the golden throne. And if you buy a throne, it's, you know, like a wooden one or something. But yeah, it's sorry, go ahead, Zan. You're not a developer.
I was just gonna say I'm not a developer, so I don't really have an answer for this. But I really believe that if you want to make cosmetics successful in a game, all you have to do is make the game fun. If people love playing the game, they will want to spend money on it. They will want those things such as housing. They will want animations. They will want everything. Especially when people feel really intensely connected to the universe they're playing. They will want to role play it. They will want to feel a part of it, and that's where they start making the biggest investments in it. So all you have to do is focus on making the game fun, and everything else comes off naturally. But Deadhaus is not only a matter of cosmetic items to sell. This is mainly the way that they've been describing their ways of making money so far, the monetization ideas. But for those who don't know, the Apocalypse intends to add features to players to create content for Deadhaus and for its future expansions. So players could create skins, plots, stories, missions, different kinds of player controls, everything, music. They intend to allow people to create these kinds of content and to eventually monetize them. And everything to get monetized like this, a portion of it goes for Apocalypse. And if the game is successful, the game will be successful. With the game being successful, lots of people will come in and want to create their own stuff. And even people who don't actually like to play that much still like to produce content. Many people do that in many kinds of games.
Oh yeah.
And there will be people coming from the outside also wanting to make their own stuff over here. And I think this is something very special that Deadhouse has that very few other games have. And I'm very looking forward to seeing that happening.
Me too. I couldn't. That was really good, Dan. I couldn't have said that any better. That's true. That's the other thing. I guess we have to like look into finally for this whole monetization thing, is whenever community content happens and whenever the modding community gets their hands on this thing, it's gonna blow up. I think it's gonna be, like the Skyrim thing, where just bajillion mods for Skyrim and a million community content things for Skyrim. It'll be the same for Deadhouse, because like you already got the lore here and these characters, and they've already gone through an internal reboot, and everything is so rich right off the bat. It can only get richer from the community. It can only get richer down the line. So with all of that said, I think monetization and community and all that stuff, it's going to be one of those fine balances, but I think it's going to be a fine balance, like it'll all kind of work out, I believe. Personally.
Oh, definitely. I think what's going to happen is we're going to get to a situation where the game launches publicly. Forget founders packs, forget all of this, right? The game launches out the gate publicly. It's going to sharply spike in popularity. And with that will come lots of praise, but also lots of criticism.
Mm-hmm.
Then it will die off a bit because, flavor of the month situation, people move on to whatever's next and all like that. And then you'll see over the coming weeks and months a normalization. Once you get to that normalization, you will start seeing what should be regular influxes on the storefront for like microtransactions. So they will have people rolling out whatever the cosmetics are. Maybe they do stuff every month, maybe every 3 months, maybe with every patch. Maybe they like make a whole lot of stuff, but do like a weekly rotation or something. You will see cosmetics being bought in like the quantities in that regard. Because from my own personal experience, when I'm playing Warframe, after a while, I start feeling guilty and need to buy platinum, because I'm like, this is a really good game. I did I would not feel bad about spending money on this. I'm going to spend like $20 on platinum, or some people's maybe $50 or whatever. And they'll do that because they want to support the game. Once you have the platinum, that's when the stuff in the items shop starts going, I could pick up that armor set, or I could pick up that ephemera. I could do this, that, or the other. And that's where you get into the hook. You get the veteran players that keep wanting to get the newer stuff, and maybe a new sword, or maybe there's a particular guild table for your guild hall or whatever comes out of it. You're like, I need to pick that up. I need to buy more platinum to get that, and you will go down that route, because there's people who will never buy out of the item shop. And then there is what you call the gambling equivalent of whales, who will instantly just buy all the things. And then that's the way it goes down. Like, you can't account for either of those two, but it's the middle one that if you cater for them and keep them sweet, like players like myself and many others will have no problem dropping the money if it doesn't directly affect gameplay. That being said, character slots, I don't think is considered directly affecting gameplay. That's like, you were given X amount of character slots. If you want more, you have to buy them. It's a free-to-play game. That's perfectly acceptable. Slowing down crafting, I don't think is grossly impacting gameplay unless the crafting is ridiculous. Like if it's like,
Yeah.
again, slightly less than Warframe. Warframe brought it to the line of like taking the mick, of like being a joke, but they still keep it on that side because like 3 days, like that's a bit of a while, but like less than that or around that would be acceptable. If I want to craft a sword and I have to wait a week, that's
Yeah, it
affecting
hurts.
gameplay. But
It hurts.
a day or two, that's fine. Like a day, because if you think about it, like the people are like, oh, but that breaks immersion. Does it? Or maybe it adds to it. If you went to a blacksmith and ordered a sword, who I'm assuming that's going to be like the way the crafting system will work, will be something like that. You have to commission it. It would take a few days for him to do it, even if he dropped everything and done it right then. So like that's acceptable. Or you can bribe him with a bit of plat to, hurry it up. Like that is acceptable
Yeah.
and in keeping with the world.
I wouldn't mind that. See, stuff like that. I mean, Dennis has said multiple times that the Warframe guys are right down the street. So who better to take ideas from,
Yeah, because they've taken ideas from multiple other places and they've tested things that
Mhm.
work, things that didn't work. Didn't they pull out a microtransaction before? They had one that like gave you like skins for your car, for like your puppy or whatever, and they discovered that it basically turned into like a lotto, like what you call them? The fruit machines, slot machine. And
Yeah.
that's basically,
Yeah.
and they noticed that there was a few people using it like a slot machine to get things like, whoa, hold on. And they ripped that straight out. They didn't want to encourage that. It was turning into a gambling mechanic and they didn't want that at all.
Yeah. Because that's never good. Ever.
Speaking of the crafting system, we don't know anything about it yet. I honestly hope that if there is crafting, we won't really have to wait. I would rather have crafting be tied to quests or challenges that you have to go through, something that's actually fun in doing instead of just waiting for things. I can definitely understand the reasoning behind it that you described of having a very long time to prepare something and paying to speed it up. This reminds me a little bit too much about mobile games, though. Mobile games and social media games.
Mhm.
I say I support mostly a fun and engaging approach to any element. Um, but I think your best argument was the one of the classes, really. Yeah, the amount of limited slot, not classes, character slots. Um, I was always of the thinking that if there is a free to play game, I will not pay for anything in it. I used to think this way until the point that I started noticing that I started thinking I really want to support the people who made this because I really enjoy. I like the experience of playing this game, and then I said, okay, now let me look for something cool that I want to pay for in this game to show them that I like what they've done. And I like the way that you classified people to the spenders, the players on that article, the thread you posted. I wouldn't be able to think of them like that.
Oh well, that's when I was doing out that just for anyone that's listening, in case they can't go back into it. I started off this one. I was like, I had a few ideas for monetization, so here's some thoughts. So players will fall into one of four categories. Okay, so you've got new players, people brand new to the game, veteran players, end game or / experienced players, people have been there for a long time, and whales. So new players are not usually the focus of direct monetization, as they're rewarded as a means to make them invested in the game. So you don't want to introduce that just yet. So once players move into category 2, veteran players, that's when they're open for monetization. So players in category 3, which is the end game experience players, they're like category 1. They're not really good for monetization purposes, as they have collected everything or bought everything and completed most of the challenges in the game. So with the new expansions, when you bring up new patches, or whether you bring out like complete new dungeons or a new game expansion, or in this one to be like new houses and stuff like that, that's when you kind of slide players into from category 1 and category 3 into either category 2 or 4. So category 4 is for those completionists, or those who always either complete every goal in a game or feel compelled to have every item available to them. So like whether it be pets, whether it be cosmetic stuff and all like that. I like that with Calypso. Like you get that. So like if you've got someone, they start the game, don't monetize at all, because they need to find out if they like the game or not. You get them invested. You bring them in with a good game, good gameplay, great gameplay loop, good story. So you reel them in that way because it's free. And then they get invested. Then they become a more experienced player. That's when they fall into number 2, which is the veteran players. So they've been there a while, they've completed the stories, they love the characters, they love the world. It's like, okay, now you can sell to them, because it's like, okay, you've really enjoyed this now. Do you want to pay for stuff? That's where you've got the cool cosmetics. Maybe you've joined a guild, you need a guild hall. Maybe you want to have player housing because you want to role play a bit. You know, you go that way. They're ripe for selling. Then after a long time, they moved into the other category, 3, which is end game, or experienced players. So end game, as we know, is always fashion. So like you're going to buy all the story anyway. But like joking aside, they will have done everything and they will have bought everything they need in the shop, or that they feel like they want. That's when new expansions come in, which puts a new challenge, more gameplay, and extra item shop stuff. That way they backslide into 2 being a veteran player, or they'll end up jumping into category 4 if they have money. If they're the kind of person that has no problem blowing a bit of like cash on a game. So instantly it's like, I'm buying everything in the shop. Or they will like, okay, this is a new game, there's new stuff, there's new dungeons, there's new challenges, I'm going to complete all of them. And then, yeah, they've given me quite a bit of stuff to enjoy. So I'm going to buy a bit more platinum. I'm going to invest and maybe get some this, that, or the other from the new items in the store, you know? So it's kind of looking at it that way. I know it seems a little corporatist, but at the end of the day, it's still a business. You know, can't do everything for free. So if you're getting the game for free, the least like there has to be a certain level. But again, fine line, you know?
Yeah. I think perhaps a good way to put it is that there are different kinds of people, and you can't really control that. And you should make it approachable so that all of them can make their own kinds of investments, whatever it is. What if it's time, if it's lots of money, if it is a dedication outside of the game, managing communities, whatever. You should make it possible for them. But whatever method you make available, it shouldn't undermine the core experience for anyone.
Oh, definitely. It should, the whole point of it, it should be an accessory to the core gameplay loop. It should not affect the core gameplay loop.
And with all of that money and all of that time, usually comes a lot of power. And when it comes to power, one of the most probably powerful classes in Deadhaus, potentially, is a Lich.
We'll see.
Is a Lich.
You know what team I'm still on. Go on.
I'm totally on Team Vampire as well. But after hearing the Of Liches radio play, oh man, I think I'm swaying. I'm waning towards Team Lich, like a will-o-wisp being dragged to like become a battery for some evil creature. I am leaning towards Lich. And
are you going to sway away from Vampire to Lich?
I might, man. It's such a good radio play. It's so good. And the Lich, he's also one of the only classes, or probably the only class, if I remember, who purposely becomes what he is. An incredibly power-hungry wizard or necromancer or whatever chooses to become a Lich. And like tears themselves and does terrible things to become a Lich. And it's horrifying and amazing, and it's almost like it's like if you're a Lich or if you're a wizard and you have reached that point where you want to become a Lich, there's something inside of you that has finally either must have broken, or you've reached an incredible epiphany about something, and the only way you can understand it is to become a Lich, you know, to bind your soul or something to a phylactery, whatever the lore is.
I just found that the radio play, I really enjoyed it because, like as I was saying before, like yesterday on the official stream, it just took him so much by surprise. It took Alaric
Mhm.
completely blindsided, and something happened, and he has no idea. He doesn't know. Maybe there was information stolen from him. Maybe it's like kind of supernaturally bugged him, so now it can see everything he sees. So many questions, so little answers.
Yes, and it's okay. So one of my favorite parts, I think the thing that has swayed me towards possibly becoming a lich, is in the radio play and right here in the of Lich's text. Um, the lich calls to Alaric, like he infects his mind almost and speaks into his mind telepathically, and whispers to him, come, and controls him and grasps him. And then all he does is touches like his temples. And then, and that right there, that moment where the lich just touches Alaric, like doing something, and then is gone, creeped me out. Was
Yeah,
just
Alaric.
what?
Alaric
What?
had a split vision of being able to see through the eyes of the Lich, so
Yes.
he could see through it. So he doesn't know, could it see through him, and
Yeah.
then it vanished, which means obviously he was out cold or dazed for God knows what amount of time
Hmm.
until he came to his senses again. So who knows what happened?
It's
Yeah, you mentioned Calypso, that the of Liches was one of the most scariest chronicles so far, and I agree
It
with
really
you.
was. It really
Yeah.
was. For
Especially
me, it was
because it was the only moment, or at least in the stories we have so far, that Ellery got frozen in place. At any point in all the stories, he had something that he could do, even if it was just fleeing, but not on all Liches. He was completely frozen in place.
yeah, it's where you see in if you listen to the other radio plays, like Alric is kind of, stupid. Or it's like he always ends up getting himself in trouble. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
oopsies, I did it again, or whatever. He loses his satchel in Of Vampires. He lets a Wraith assassin get away in the Wraiths. A Revenant decimates his entire party or whatever in seconds, and he can't really do anything about it, if I recall. The Banshee thing was a total screw up. Like, he keeps messing up, but he always has a purpose. He's always trying. He's always looking for information or whatever. And Of Liches, I think Colden said it as well. In Of Liches, he's just there. He's just walking. You know, there's no patrol. He's just exploring or whatever, or collecting herbs or whatever, and then just stumbles across it. There's no nothing, no research, no nothing, just there. And he can't do anything about it. He can't do anything. He's frozen. He could die at this very moment. And maybe he does. Maybe he is dead. You know what I mean? Maybe the lich possessed him. Maybe the lich is inside his body, and that's why he fears dreaming. At the ending of the radio play, it's very Lovecraftian. He can't fall asleep. He doesn't want to dream. He's terrified. Bishop, I mentioned something about maybe in his dreams is when he unwillingly transfers information. That is a great idea. That is a great idea. So what did the lich really do? You know what I mean? Alaric couldn't do anything. So what did the lich do? And that's why liches, like, just from this instance, are probably not to be reckoned with. You know what I mean? Like, I feel if there were any undead class to take over Deadhaus or to usurp the King Nagaztak, it would probably be a lich. You know?
Oh, that's undoubtedly what's going on. There's definitely going to have to be some hold put on them because, like, as I said yesterday, herding cats and they aspire for power. They need power. That's the only reason they even exist in their current state. Plus, Alaric always seems to be reaching for his satchel. I want to know what's in that bag.
I do too. I do too. Like, what does he carry? Well, like, I would love Zan. You'll probably end up doing this, or someone might in the community, where go through all the radio plays and collect what's in his satchel? Like he says some stuff. There's some times where he's like, "Oh, I have this in my satchel," or I pull that out.
There's some
So he's
chimes.
carrying
There's some
that.
like weird Molotov cocktail type stuff.
Yeah, like what does he have?
That's it.
The only thing to stop a lich is their phylactery, right? Which is usually locked up in some place that they only know about. Because
Mhm.
other than that, they're immortal, or there's nothing that can kill them, as far as I know about lich myth and
Yeah.
everything with
What is a lich's weakness?
hmm
Come on, Zan, spill the beans. I know you've researched all of this.
Well, I don't really have a straight answer on that, but I imagine that yes, he has lots of ingredients that he can use to breed to make potions. I'm sure he has a few bottles already concocted. We know he uses during the off Wraiths encounter. He uses a bottle
Hmm.
that produces alchemical fire that somehow manages to affect the Wraith who is in an ethereal state at that time.
They
So he
done the same
already.
with the vampire as well.
That's right. That's right. He may have some silver. Silver, he knows, is already useful against the undead. He may have some kind of artifact that allows him to maybe search for where an undead is. You mentioned a phylactery. Finding the phylactery is important. Maybe there is a way for him, like a radar, that he can use to find it. Of course, not that technological, but the equivalent in that medieval time.
Yeah.
All speculation, really.
Mhm. Here's something interesting from reading the Lich lore. Through their extensive study of the occult and intimate knowledge of death, these elite spirit spellcasters can conjure and compel lesser undead on the battlefield. So is Alaric secretly dead and he just doesn't know it yet? And is that why the Lich could command him so easily? Or is it just because the Lich is so powerful?
Oh no, I think it's the powerful bit.
Oh, well, that would be a good theory.
Because like I thought it was funny because in other situations, Alaric was either prepared, they were intentionally going out hunting for the vampire, the banshee. They knew they were stepping into realms they didn't expect. They knew there was something weird. They weren't prepared for it, but they knew something was going to happen. In the Revenant one, they were held up at a giant barracks and stuff. They were doing that. This just blindsided him. I think this is the only time when they were completely blindsided because he was not expecting anything at all. And in regards to that, they are unbelievably powerful sorcerers even before they became a lich. Like you'd need to ascend to the highest levels to even like entertain the thought of becoming a lich. I can't imagine what secrets they must be holding. So like you said, they can control lesser undead. Yeah, but that is even still ranks and ranks above humans and other living creatures, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And I like what you said. You said something in the stream yesterday, Mike, where possibly that liches and a bunch of other undead might even be from the first age.
Yeah.
That the lich in the radio play in this chronicle, and maybe even like other liches, probably are so old they are from the first age. They are before Deadhaus. They are like maybe even like the dawn of man kind of old within
Yeah.
this universe. And then they've just become liches because they are that powerful.
The empire of man has risen and fallen many times in history. Who's to say they were from many ages past?
Yeah.
We don't know
Yeah.
because liches like banshee, wraiths, these creatures, they're ageless. That was the point. Like liches, they transcend from mortal to lich means transcending the concept of time.
Yeah.
Time no longer becomes a factor in their existence. So therefore, they might be a lich for 6 months. They might be a lich for 10 years. Could have been a lich for 3,000 years.
Yeah. And a 3,000-year-old lich, like, oh man, like the possibilities are endless with that much power, you know? And it scares me. It legitimately scares me. I'm not even kidding when I am saying I am scared. Like liches scare me now. Liches legitimately scare me. What they can do in game, possibly, what they can do story wise, this whole chronicle thing, legitimately, I was scared. I am scared. It's, oh man, it's frightening. It's really frightening. Like, other creatures like the ghoul are, more disgusting on that kind of level. The wraith is just kind of depressing. Um,
Hey, I like the Wraith.
I love the Wraith too, but like his story is just sad, like how people become Wraiths, like, and then the Liches, it's like, not to, make like the Sauron comparison with Lord of the Rings, because he wasn't a Lich, but imagine if a creature or a character like Sauron from Lord of the Rings became a Lich. How nightmarish would that be? The dude was already like a terror upon Middle Earth forever. Now just imagine he's an all-powerful Lich who can't really die because his phylactery is somewhere and you don't know where it is, and you have to find it to defeat him or something.
Some things are too evil to die.
Yeah.
Well, he did have a phylactery, the ring.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah. Okay.
I think of the archetypes, he's actually the closest to a Lich indeed. Sauron.
Well, there we go. Sauron Lich confirmed.
No, I think that Tolkien got inspired. He was kind of like an angel that turned into a demon.
Yeah,
became fallen.
Yeah,
something
the analog for Satan, Lucifer.
Right, right.
I gotta
In any case, we're talking about the
Liches
Liches now, but as a matter of fact, every undead can live eternally, really, as far as we know.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah,
they can live forever if nobody kills them or brings them to true death anyway.
Yeah, they've all passed beyond the threshold of mortality. So, like, if we go through them all. Vampire, dead. Revenant, past dead, beyond dead.
Mm-hmm.
Wraith, it's a soul torn asunder. White, it's a soul brought back together. Banshee wasn't alive to begin with. And Lich, as I said, already beyond the realm of the living. Ghoul passed beyond the mortal threshold the minute it committed that sacred rite of cannibalism.
Mm-hmm. I just thought of something.
Mm-hmm.
In the lore here for the Lich, it's most Liches. That's such a tough word to say. Most Liches put their vast knowledge to work as advisors or researchers, preferring to pursue in death what they did in life, the truth. So what if during this chronicle, it wasn't a Lich necessarily being, doing some evil act on a lark? It was just curious. It was just a scientific person coming in contact with another scientific person, and he was just curious as to what a lark was doing and who a lark was. So he probed his brain kind of to get some information, because that's what he does. He's a truth seeker. He's an information gatherer. Liches,
There's an interesting one from Bishop. Out of all of them, the ghoul seems to be the one that might fade away if it doesn't feed. I don't think so. I think it needs to feed. It would probably feel pain the same way as a vampire would, but I don't think it would completely die. I think it would just lose its vitality state and revert to magical or essential.
Yeah, that's a good point. Every undead has the three states, or at least they can access them in some level.
Hate to reference this one, but I'm opening this can of worms. All right, Soul Reaver. Do you remember when you went into the spirit realm? There was those spirits that were basically like ghouls that fed on the souls of other undead.
Yeah,
remember the very bottom rung of the ladder, guys. Yeah. So that's what I imagine a ghoul would be. In the normal realm, it feeds on anything it can get its hands on, corpses, people, and all like that. If it doesn't and it loses that and ends up in the magical or the essential form, it would be like that. It would still be a voracious, hungering force, but it would feed on spirits, magical essences, whatever. It will still just consume.
That'd be such a, I kind of hope they put that in there now, Mike. I kind of hope that they throw in if you're playing a ghoul, and you know, go into like the spectral realm or whatever that this version of that would be, if there is going to be one, um, that you have to consume the souls of, you know, the dead to get back into a physical form. But I think that's just calling too much to Soul Reaver as a
No, I don't
mechanic.
think you'll go to a spiritual realm, but what I think is like you'll pass into being from a physical creature into being like a ghost
Yeah,
of
something
yourself,
like
you know,
that.
or something to that effect. You'll still exist in that world, but you'll perceive it differently.
Yeah.
Not like transferring from one state to another, but in the trinary archetypes, your state, not the world state, if that
Mm-hmm.
makes sense. So, like,
Yeah.
you know, if you imagine you've your normal character in vitality, then you lose it, you turn blue, ghost, magical, and then a
Yeah.
little like will o' the wisp essence, you know,
Mhm.
something along those lines, for example. I know they actually have that in like what the game's going to be, but I have no idea what it is at the moment.
Yeah.
Dennis keeps teasing, but we'll find out eventually.
As Dennis does. I do love that little detail, or that little. I don't know if Jack did this on purpose or if I'm reading into it too much, but when Alaric uses the mirror to peek behind the tree, it's very Perseus, Clash of the
Oh,
Titans,
totally. That's the first thing
Medusa
that came
boss
to
fight. That
mind.
was the first thing that
Oh,
came to my
yeah.
mind when listening to that. I was like, sweet, I love it.
So now the question I want to know is, because we actually have a Lich on as a guest, the way we had Viper Tamers of White, Zan, your background, why you picked this class, what it is for you, and how do you see it playing?
Okay, I talked a little bit about this on the Deadhaus Sonata stream. What I really like about the Lich is precisely the fact that they're seeking truth. And I feel that this is something that I also do in real life. I search for truth no matter whether I like it or not. And the Liches are trying to find this concept of power. Essentially, they do have the same desire as many other than that, is to become more powerful. And they do so in the form of learning how everything interconnects to everything. What they call in the universe of Malorum the truth. That also has some tie-ins to the names of things, because in many legends, in many religious texts, words have power, names have power, and everything have a true name. Every undead, as we know in the game, will have a true name. And this also ties into some kind of gameplay mechanic that we don't know of as of yet. And
Mm.
the Liches are probably the ones most concerned with this. Though, of course, this is a concept that will be explored with every class. The Nagaztek, the King of the Dead, speaks of the truth more so than any other character we've seen so far. And he's not even a lich; he's a revenant, a poet revenant, but a revenant nonetheless. And he's supposed to be hateful and spiteful and all that, but he seeks this concept just as much. And I identify myself with this search. I really what I like about the concept of the lich in Deadhaus, even more so than this, is in most games a lich is just a magician with some kind of necromantic feature to it. It can raise dead. That's it. He's a lich
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
On this one, it already starts to become a little bit more deep when you talk about him using spirits as ordnance, as ammunition, as energy for whatever he's doing. That's already very cool. And I want to explore how they made him special. Well, I want to do this with all classes, of course, but the Lich is, together with the vampire, one of the most cliches of the undead.
Mm.
And I believe that that house is going to make it very special, and I want to explore that.
Yeah, I do think it's going to go in a completely different way, because you are 100% right. Lich is one of those cliche characters, almost like
Oh,
vampire in a video game.
definitely,
You know,
definitely.
there's already it's always a very basic character with one minor tweak. Like vampire is always like, it is goth guy, you know, goth
Mhm.
dude with sword, only instead of healing, he, you know, drains blood, you know, but aside from that, there's no difference. Same with Lich. It is, you know, warlock, but it's dead. You know,
Mhm.
it's a necromancer, but it's also dead. You know, it's never like kind of anything like special, but like Deadhaus, I think, has done that for every one of the classes. So even what should be a basic class like vampire or lich, it's completely different for right from out the gate, you know?
Yeah, I feel no bad feelings towards Dungeons and Dragons, but I feel Dungeons and Dragons has sort of distilled the Lich into a really like basic thing or basic character that, you know, it's obviously the first thing you think of when like people who are like into fantasy and stuff think of liches. They either jump to Dungeons and Dragons or Diablo or something like that, you know, when they think of that kind of thing. um and I think because how different Deadhaus is doing all these other classes, I think how they're going to handle um, liches is going to be really interesting to see, because even Dragon Age Origins and the Dragon Age series has done liches okay. They have a phylactery thing, a couple of missions with phylacteries, but it doesn't really go in depth to it. Like with this, if we can go in depth, maybe even like pick our own phylactery that's not just like a vial of blood or whatever, would be cool as a gameplay mechanic for a lich also.
And
Just
there you go, back to monetization.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, many different options. Have a few base items in the game so you can have like this item or that item or the other item. But let's say you have like just general artifact, which is like a sphere that it's got like some kind of steampunk element to it, where it's kind of strangely ornate with like cogs or kind of lever stuff and all like that.
Yeah.
3,000 different skin possibilities, you know, right there for just purely cosmetic.
And the lich in the artwork is carrying an hourglass. Who pointed it out? Was it you who pointed out the hourglass, or Zan? Someone pointed out that the lich is holding an hourglass.
Someone
was that?
Oh well, someone was pointed out.
Someone pointed out in the chat.
Someone pointed out that the lich is holding an hourglass. Is that the lich's phylactery within this artwork?
I think that's another one of those things that he's going to absorb a soul into, similar to a lantern. So it looks like an hourglass type thing, because he's ripping the soul out of that person right there.
Yeah.
Like, that's very clear.
Point. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It could be a phylactery, it's true, but you think that a lich will want to keep his phylactery as far away from him as possible, so people wouldn't, you know, meet him and just immediately know where he's.
It was Wyvern Tamer that pointed it out.
Oh, thanks, Wyvern Tamer. Yeah, like that's true. That's true. The liches do want to keep their phylacteries far, far, far away.
Unless the phylactery being close to them somehow gives them an advantage. I've made in one of my fanfictions a character that actually uses his phylactery in place of his head. He just cut off his head and put the phylactery there.
That's awesome.
Maybe the phylactery being close to them allows them to wield their power a little bit better. Maybe if the lich is more focused on the essential power. We don't really know how that will work in the game, but that's a possibility, and that will be something cool to explore too.
Yeah, maybe the intensity of their power like grows or shrinks based on proximity to a phylactery.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Or something to that effect.
That'd be an interesting mechanic to explore.
Wyvern Tamer's asking, what fanfic was that, Sam?
That was the character Sardok, which was one of the first ones I made. I just mentioned him in passing on the very one that I've submitted to the World Anvil site, The Binding.
And is that still up on the forum somewhere?
Oh yeah, I can look it up, the link.
Yep, if you feel free to drop links in the chat.
Yep, feel free. And also for everyone listening on our Spotify, once again, please go to deadhaussonata.com and check out all these things for yourselves. I should mention that Deadhaus is spelled like Bauhaus, that 80s band, Haus, not House, to save confusion. But the lich in this artwork, for our listeners, picture, you know, the outline of like Sauron's helmet from Lord of the Rings, but it's almost like his skull, and it's like fused to his face, or it is his face. He's got black, like billowing robes, almost no legs, like his robes have like dissolved and they are just the robes. Thin, like armor. His armor looks like it's fused to his skin. There's a person screaming in agony, and you can physically see their soul being ripped from their body. It's fantastic, beautiful artwork.
It's Sauron, Arthas as the Lich King, and Skeletor all mixed into one.
Yeah, but better.
Way better.
But better.
It's got that whole like fantasy, not fantasy, that's the wrong word. You know those old, what's the artist called that used to do the old album covers and book covers?
Frank Frazetta?
Yes, that's it.
The Conan guy, right?
Yeah, It's
Yeah.
almost Franzetta style to it, but kind
Yeah.
of in a more done in a more contemporary version, because Franzetta is very much like of at that period of like the Conan, the pre Iron Age type look to things. Whereas this is very much down the like the only way Dennis described it is the most accurate, grim dark.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
You know.
very grim dark. Please, everyone, go read Solomon Kane. Go read the Conan stories. You'll love those. Yes, like it's visually. I think Liches are going to look amazing in game. Period. I don't think you can go wrong with however they're going to look. Gameplay wise, it's going to be another story because obviously we don't really know how it's going to play out. But stat wise, they are really strong in mana, and they're very weak in vitality and essence, which is the physical and essential trees. So it's going to
Mm-hmm.
wonder. It's going to be interesting to see how they balance gameplay wise both the physical and the essential. Um,
I have a
you know,
feeling that Lich is going to fall under that. They're probably going to be distance casters. Now, I could be
yeah,
completely wrong, but that's my theory. The other side being their vitality is low, but I don't think it matters if they exist in a physical state or not. They can just be in the magical state. So what you're seeing could be some type of spectral projection.
yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be cool too. Oh man, yeah. It's really interesting. It's really interesting how it's going to work out.
The class
Yeah,
description mentions that leeches can reconstitute their bodies once they are in the ethereal state to come back to the physical state. When you were mentioning the wraiths in Soul River, the
Hmm.
vampires, the undead vampires, sorry, the undead vampires, the spectral vampires sucking souls and
Yeah.
all that, trying to come back to the physical world. I wonder what every class, how every, I can easily imagine a undead being destroyed, having its body destroyed, and its spirit just going out and turning into a mist or something like that. But the other way around is a little bit weird to imagine a spirit materializing into a body. Even though the Lichers are the only one who mention that being a possibility, that's something I'm
I'll be
curious to see.
grossly disappointed if it doesn't look like halfway through Hellraiser 1.
oh yeah, oh yeah. Like Frank, like you look like Frank
Yeah.
just reassembling or
It
something. That'd be
starts it
sick.
starts off with the blood pooling and then like the brain kind of comes out of it and then the bones start forming from goo, like
Oh
layering over each other and stuff. That's
God,
beautifully done. It's a
yeah.
gross, morbid scene, but it's beautiful.
I finally watched Hellraiser a couple weeks ago, and I have tried to watch that movie multiple times and can never get through it. I finally watched it with a friend, and I made it all the way through. I don't do horror movies really. That Hellraiser is disgusting. The
Oh,
first
wait till you see
Hellraiser,
2 and 3 and 4.
the intro with Frank reassembling his body is one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen. And it's glorious and it's amazing and I wanted to throw up. Like
Oh,
it's beautiful.
there's beautiful scenes later on when you see Cenobites getting created.
Yeah. Oh
That
geez.
is that's kind of special. Although
Yeah.
that's just like in the later movies, that's just kind of flexing practical effects for the
Hmm.
time. That's just
Hmm.
them showing, look how gross we can be, you know.
Yeah, definitely. I think I said this in a stream in one of our previous streams. I think the gameplay. I know it's going to be like close or similar to Warframe. That's what I speculate. That's going to be
Only without
kind of
the
like
crazy bullet jumping
yeah,
stuff.
only without the crazy bullet jumping. I think it's going to be like emo Warframe, right?
Don't say
I
emo,
also
goth warfare.
think
Goth
Goth
warfare.
Warframe. Sorry, Goth Warframe. I think it's going to be Goth Warframe. Gameplay wise, also, I think everyone should maybe go back and play Blood Omen 1 because I think it's going to play something really similar to that. I've noticed with a lot of these art directions and the lore and stuff, Dennis is really, going back in the day and pulling a lot of stuff from Blood Omen and Eternal Darkness and everything like that and kind of just bringing it to the modern day. That's what he wants to do, right? So
Sure, you
why
seen
not?
that with the states. Remember on the art reveal? I think it was before Christmas, where they
Yeah.
showed like the spheres, and it very
Mhm.
much had a harken back to Blood Omen.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
So I think he's like, why wouldn't you want to just recreate gameplay that worked so well back then for the modern day? You know, in Blood Omen, Kane like Dennis, it's funny. Dennis has been using this trinary archetype system for a long time. It's just been cleverly covered up. In Blood Omen, it's there front and center, right in our faces, and it's all accessible constantly. You constantly have access to it. When you cast spells and magics, like the lightning bolt spell or the light spell or whatever in Blood Omen, you're pulling from your magic tree, or sorry, what is it in Deadhaus? In your mana, in your ethereal or your mana state, right? You're pulling from it. You're using your mana. When you're slashing with swords and getting hit by swords, that's your physical state. And then when you use artifacts, and stuff like that, that's your essential state within Blood Omen 1.
Yeah.
It's there in Blood Omen 1. It's just cleverly covered up. And there's no there's no bars to represent it except for the health, which is your blood vial, and the mana, which is your rune magic. That's it. And the essentials are, it's numbers or whatever. But if you notice this, unless I'm going crazy, if you go back and every single time you use an artifact within Blood Omen, whether it's like the Tarot deck of Doom or the slow time spell, there's a green aura that surrounds Kane when he uses an artifact.
How perceptive.
Yeah, unless, like, I swear, I'm gonna go back and look at my old gameplay footage now. If it's there, but yeah, there's
Didn't
a green
Dennis
aura
hint at that? He
Kane.
says they were bringing tarot cards into Deadhaus.
Oh yeah, if there's not an evil tarot, then I'll be sad.
There will be many evil tarots, and this is definitely very closely tied to the skill system that they're going to be revealing on the next week. So
yes,
right.
for everyone, you all need to check that out. Dennis will be on the official Deadhaus stream next Wednesday, St. Patrick's Day. You really need to see it.
Yes. And with that, I think it's time to start wrapping up and saying goodbye, everybody. So don't forget to check out deadhaussonata.com for all of your wonderful Deadhaus goodness. You can follow Faceless Mike on Twitch, Instagram, and Twitter at The Faceless Mike. For Twitch, it's twitch.tv/TheFacelessMike. You can follow me, Calypso, at twitch.tv/Calypso694. I'm also on Twitter at Necrolibriatus and Instagram at Necrolibriatus. I still can't pronounce it correctly.
Glad you said it. It's Necrolibriatus,
yes.
Although the current one, not Calypso, but the lore book, Zan, isn't it? It's the Necrolibriatus. Like, Zan, you say it. You know how to do it, right?
Yeah.
Necroliberatus.
There we go. That's it.
And you can follow Golden Zan. He's been a fantastic guest at golden_Zan on Twitter. And don't forget, once again, finally, the Deadhaus stream for next week on Wednesday, St. Patrick's Day, is going to be our skill tree reveal and hints and stuff like towards that. So that'll be really interesting.
And then after that, on the Deadhaus Whispers one, we will be dissecting the ever-loving heck out of all the information given.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a good one for that. So stick with us for that. And thank you for listening and watching on our Spotify and everything, guys. And thank you for watching on Restream and this Twitch stream and everything like that. It's been great. We are on Spotify now. Deadhaus Whispers on Spotify. Just Google it. You'll find it. Trust me.
We are on YouTube, on Spotify, and we will be almost everywhere. Or if not, we will fix that.
Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there, folks. So yes, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And fight the living, everybody.
Fight the living.
Thank you for coming. Search for the truth and fight the living.
See ya.
See ya.
Bye-bye.